Hey guys, what's going on with everybody? This is your boy Trucker Richie Rich, back on these ones and twos, baby. We're gonna talk some dollars today and hopefully make some sense. I'm sorry, I keep looking around because I'm in Illinois and the wind is so strong. Everybody's just parking it and they're trying to hurry and get in, and stop a driving. Excuse me. When the wind gets too strong, park it, bro. Don't be out here trying to drive, man. You flip the truck, or you get into an accident, or you only drive 40 miles an hour down the highway. So it's best to park it and live this fight another day. This Prime driver about to hit somebody. Speaking of Prime, yeah, the title of the video, man. Trainer is done. Training for me is done. I'm not training anymore for the rest of my career, however long that be. Yeah, training is done. We're going to talk about a couple things today and the reason why I think training is done with me. I've been training for 10 years, okay? I did 7 years with Stephen Transport and 3 years with Prime. Now, right now, I'm not with Prime, okay? I'll explain the company later. I'm waiting for the jury to be out on them to make sure I can give a recommendation. So far, they've been pretty good. And I have no complaints, but you never know. But listen, training at Prime, I'm gonna talk about some things there being a trainer that I just didn't like, and what really made me not want to train anymore. One of the issues I had is paying the training. I know everybody's like, Rich, why you being so goddamn cheap, right? No, it's not that, but the problem is I had a couple trainees who didn't perform. And regardless if they performed or not, they still got that $1,000 out of me. If you guys remember a few months ago, I had a student fall asleep on me in driving, and I had a student jump truck, which means abandon the truck. And to my amazement, at the end of the week, I still had to pay them, right? $1,000 is coming out of my revenue. So, I don't like that much. And, that really made me kind of step back in training. And to be honest with you, training at Prime is training / teaming, okay? It's not really training per se. Now, I'm about to give Stevens their roses right here, what I'm about to say. Stevens has a strict policy where the truck has to stop every day for 8 hours. If the truck doesn't stop, the truck will be suspended. And honestly, I kind of like that rule. Okay, the reason I do, because sometimes running 24 hours a day, like for instance, I had a load with a trading one time, picked up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and we had to take it to downtown Los Angeles. And Prime gave us 2 days to do that drive. Now, driving from Fort Lauderdale all the way to LA normally takes 3 to 4 days, but we did it in 2 days, and man, that was brutal. I mean, just on my body and everything. It's hard to sleep when the truck's moving as a trainer. I have to trust my trainee to drive straight, and sometimes you get a good trainee, sometimes you don't. This particular trainee, he was pretty decent, but he did make a mistake. And I don't know if you guys saw my video I posted. He made a wrong turn in Pasos, Texas, and we ended up on a mountain that was closed down, and I had to reverse 6 miles in the pitch black, 2 a.m, down the mountain. I was pretty upset, and I was pretty tired, right? So that's why, I kind of decided to leave training alone. But I was watching the guy's channel the other day, Tim Travels, and he was talking about how his female student kind of, was dangerous and went rogue on him. And yeah, I've trained hundreds of students, and that was one of the things I had an issue with too. Sometimes you get a bad apple. Now, it shouldn't dissuade you from training, but after 10 years, you get tired of that. I can tell you some horror stories here as far as me and trainers. I mean, you saw one video I had where I had a trainee stalk me, threaten me. I had another video where the trainee was argumentative. He didn't want to do. I mean, so many personalities in this truck. This truck is no bigger than my closet, and being stuck with an individual for 24 hours just isn't appealing to me anymore. Even though, listen, what I'm about to say, training at Prime is very financially rewarding. It is. Like I said, I'm not talking bad about Prime. It's just that, I'm just done with training. I'm not going to do it anymore. I had a couple guys send me emails and, texts and asking for trainers and stuff, and I just can't. And right now, I'm not with Prime, so I couldn't train you if I wanted to. I'm just talking about being done with training. And then I had a situation happen to a buddy of mine that put a bad taste in my mouth. Real bad taste. He was a trainer at Prime for about 2 years. And what happened was, he had a student on there who was from Africa. Now, listen, what I'm about to say may sound messed up and kind of wrong, but it's the truth. A lot of Africans don't fool with black people here in the United States. This has been my experience. Okay, a lot of them see us as, I guess I'm looking for the word inferior. I guess that's what the word I'm looking for. They look down to us. A lot of them call us kata in their native tongue, which means cotton picker. I've heard that, before from Africans. They just look down on black people here in this country. So the reason I'm telling you that is my buddy had a trainee on his truck who was from Africa. And, right from the jump, the African wasn't taking direction from him. He was very combative. So, while we train, me and him and a couple of my friends have a strict rule about trainees accessing the refrigerator while training. And he told him the same thing. Look, I don't want you sticking your hands in my refrigerator. Okay? He said, that's off limits to you. Go buy a cooler or something that you need. So the African guy, took it another level. He told him, I don't want to be on your truck anymore. I want to get off. The trainer was like, okay, fine. Took him back to Houston and dropped him off. And next thing I know, my trainer buddy gets a call from the training director at Prime. Apparently, the student wrote a letter saying that the trainer wouldn't let him use the bathroom, and the trainer wouldn't let him use his refrigerator, and how could he eat, and this and that and forth. And so what happened was the trainer for Prime called my buddy and kind of laid into him. Here my buddy is probably the number one trainer in that driver manager's fleet. So he was making a lot of money and working hard. And the trainer was trying to explain to the supervisor, listen, it's a sanitation issue. This guy doesn't wash his hands and he's not very clean. I don't want him sticking his hands in my refrigerator, which I don't blame him. Okay? I'm the same way. And so anyway, the trainer kind of got on him and was like, well, maybe you don't need to train. That's what the supervisor said at Prime. Which shocked me. How would you talk to somebody like that? So anyway, that was about a month ago. So my trainer buddy went to the yard about 2 weeks ago to get a physical done. And this situation was playing on his head so bad. He was really upset because he's like, Rich, I work hard for this company. I work very hard. I do what I'm supposed to do. I'm training these students, and I'm not really getting a thank you for it or anything. So my buddy went down to the training department 2 weeks ago, and he talked to the supervisor to his face. And he wasn't being mean or anything. He was just like, look, you called me about a month ago about this particular student, and you never really got me a chance to explain myself. And I just feel like I work so hard for this company, and I put up with so much with these students that, I wish you would have listened to me and just, and really the training supervisor, if I was him, I would have just been like, listen, buddy, I understand, these trainings can be a little whiny or whatever. I'd have been empathetic to him. But he said the trainer supervisor wasn't. As a matter of fact, trainer supervisor came back and doubled down and then told him, look, maybe you don't need to train. As a matter of fact, you're not training anymore. As my trainer buddy was heading to pick up another student, told him to his face. My buddy walked out of there pretty upset and just hurt. His feelings were hurt. So he went back up to his truck to go pick another load up. And as he was sitting in the dock down the street, he was picking up a Martin Breyer load. Now, anybody who works for Prime know that Martin Breyer loads are very well paid loads. So as he was sitting there, something came over him. Was like, you know what? They don't value me. They don't appreciate me. He says, you know what? I'm done. So he called his driver manager up and he told me quit. And he came back to the yard. Now, let me tell you what they did to him, right? He came back to the yard. As soon as he got to Prime's yard in Springfield, security knew that he was quitting. They wouldn't let him in the building. They told him he could only stop right there and park there and not get out of his truck, only to go get a rental car to get his stuff out. They had somebody from Success Leasing actually meet him there to terminate his lease on his truck. And, you know, my buddy was like, you know what, Rich, after that kind of treatment, he says, my feelings were hurt. I'm so disappointed in Prime. And he left, you know. This is all a catalyst from a student. And you know what? This is not the first time this has happened. It's not the first time. When I had a student named Mike from California. And Mike was, he was a good driver, but he had an issue with authority. You know, he didn't like to be told what to do, or he didn't like his mistakes being brought up in his face. And what happened was he made a wrong turn in St. Louis. And instead of him saying something, he just kept going. Well, you know, that's dangerous, right? Because you can go into a little bridge or into a residential area that you're not supposed to be in. So when I approached him about it, it was, okay, man, whatever. And I started saying to myself, why do you have such adversity when I'm just trying to help you? And then it dawned on me that he has an issue with authority. So I'm going to tell you what broke the camel's back with him. I was in Chattanooga, and my philosophy, I said, Mike, since you keep getting lost at night, I want you to drive during the daytime. So I literally sat him in the truck for a 34 reset, right? That's 34 hours down in the truck, he sat. And when it was time to drive the next morning, I said, hey, Mike, it's time for you to drive. Go ahead and drive 500 miles, and I'll take over from there. And he says to me, if you only drive 3 hours, I'm only driving 3 hours. If you drive 4 hours, I'm only driving 4 hours. I'm doing what you do. What? Mike, what? So he said that, and I'm like, Mike, you're a student, you're a trainee. Like, what? I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna go there with him. I said, sir, you don't have to drive at all. At that particular point, if I gotta argue with you from training you, I can't train you. Because one, there's no need to get that stressful out here on the road, okay? I'm not gonna be arguing with any student who's failing to take my command. So what I did is from Chattanooga all the way to Springfield, I drove back. And I let him sit right there in the driver's seat. That's one thing I didn't like about Prime's training. Stevens, if you have an issue with a student, you put them off to the next truck stop and they catch a bus and get back to the yard the best way they can. But Prime, you cannot do that. They will fire you for that. And I didn't like that, because you have to ride in a truck with your problem. And the truth is, I don't know my problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just met him. I don't know if he's a serial killer. I don't know if he has anger issues. You know, once I determine that you're not on my truck anymore, you need to get off immediately. And unfortunately, Prime doesn't have that policy where they allow that. Because as I was on the phone with my fleet manager, telling him, look, listen, I'm bringing him back to yard. No, go ahead and work it out, Rich. Go ahead. No, keep going, man. They were only caring about the load, not my personal safety. So that's one thing. That's another thing that made me kind of like, you know what? I think I'm done with this training thing. And really, I'm heartbroken what happened to my buddy too, because he was a really good guy, and I felt like Prime should have probably been a little more compassionate. But I'm seeing on Facebook and YouTube that, Prime is letting people go for a lot of stuff right now. I mean, there was a young man who was let go recently. I was watching his channel. He seemed like a real good kid, man. And I think he blew a scale or something, and they decided to let him go, or he had a cell phone on his lap during a safety meeting or something, and it was something stupid. And I'm thinking to myself, God damn, has Prime gotten petty? I don't know. But to answer your question, guys, yeah, I'm done with training. I dealt with so many students that I'm at the point where I'm just done. I don't want to be bothered. I just want to drive, do my little thing, and go home and be left alone. And it's not that I don't care about students or the industry. I've given 10 years of training, and I've made hundreds of truckers. Do you understand? I made hundreds of truckers. So I think I contribute enough to this industry to be at the point where I'm just done. A lot of times, and see, I'm starting to get the gist of things are changing in trucking right now, because a lot of times, these companies out here are really catering to students like a babysitter, okay? And it's for a reason, okay? Right now, we are in a trucking shortage for us drivers, and these companies want these drivers to stay, so they will play a counselor to you, like a teacher or like a caregiver. They will. And a lot of times they'll put the student and the trainer against each other, and they're siding on the trainer's behalf. I mean, on the student's behalf, not the trainers. And and the reason is because they need them. But 10 years ago when I worked and when I went through training, if you sneezed wrong, you were thrown off the truck and fired. But now it's a totally different story. Okay, now it's like, if a trainee whines and cries and say, "I don't like my trainer," they get another one. Okay, or their word is taking over the trainers, and I started seeing that. Because even with Mike, my fleet manager was like, "Well, what could you have done to do this and that in the fourth?" I could have done nothing. I asked him to do a simple task, and he bucked on me. And I'm not arguing with anybody out here. It's just a dangerous situation to even be involved in. The truth is, I don't know him from Adam. You understand? And I got to sleep with my eyes closed and trust this guy once I pissed him off. It becomes a volatile situation. So, anyway, guys, I'm not going to make this video super long. I was just talking, and I hope it don't sound random all over the place, but I was just giving my thoughts about how I'm done with training. I still recommend Prime, and I will get into the company I do pull for. I'm back in reefer. Right now, the spot market is so shitty that I wouldn't touch it with a 9-foot pole, okay? Customer contract freight is where it's at. And that's just how it's going to be from now on. Maybe the trucking thing will flip, but I just don't see it. With these fuel prices, other day I was in Albany, New York. Fuel price was $6.75 a gallon. Okay, you can't make a dime. I mean, you can't with the low rates. Oh no. Now, luckily, the spot market, the customer contract market is doing really well. I had a fuel surcharge the other day on the load that was over $1,000. That's good. Okay, that's very good. But anyway, guys, let me get off this thing. I had to park it because the wind is so strong out here. A little dangerous. Guys are just trying to, park and fight this fight another day. So, other than that, y'all be safe. Richie Rich is done training. I'm sorry, guys. I train officers. I train truck drivers. I'm done with training. Peace.